Yeah.
You want to like them, but you can't.
Are you listening?
What?
Are you listening?
Did you bring me on this show to insult me?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all don't want it with us, man. You straight gangsters over here,
Straight
man.
gangsters. Yeah. Good morning. It is Monday, October 22nd, and you are listening to the Scout Team, bringing you Scout Team Sports. I am one of your gracious co-hosts. They call me Loudbeard.
You are the most egotistical, self-deluded person I have ever met.
And all of that is true. And the man on the other microphone, they call him the Great Patriot, but sometimes he does not love America as much as Loudbeard. But he is...
Yeah, it's your boy Chris America coming to you live this Monday morning and every weekday morning through Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. And then we replay it, redo it, remix it for all you lazy bums that can't get up this early like we do. You can listen to us at 11 a.m. And Loudbeard, where else can they find us if they miss both of those times?
You can always download the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or hit up our website, scoutteamradio.com.
I like that. That was a little, what website is that?
I don't remember. Expedia, that's right.
.com.
Yeah, I hope they don't sue me. I stole their trademark. That's what I do. I'm Loudbeard. I do what I want. Whatever.
You do what you
Whatever.
want.
I do what I want. I also stole that from South Park. Man, I need to get original, huh?
No originality on this show. We steal
None whatsoever.
everything.
We're shameless about stealing. We will steal anything from everybody, any time of the day, any day of the week. We don't care. Whatever. We're the Scout Team.
We're like Oklahoma and Florida stealing UCF's ranking spots.
Oh, you had to hit that one first, huh? Wow. You know what?
Right out the
The
gate.
top 25 rankings are such a load of horse manure. I had to use the word manure because this is a classy show and we don't use those bad words. But manure is probably the best way to describe what is going on in college football right now, Chris America. I have no other way to describe it. I'm beside myself. What are your thoughts on all this craziness?
My thoughts on all this craziness is that rankings are fun, but they're dumb. They're just plain dumb, Loudbeard. When you go on Twitter and you can go to any fan base. You can go to UCF's fan base. You can go to LSU's fan base. You can go to, Oregon's fan base, whoever it is. And week to week, they have a new argument about the rankings. And it doesn't matter which team you are. And their argument always fits whatever benefits their team. And that's just stupid. There's no logic behind it. We make all good points for UCF, do we not, Loudbeard?
Every time we come in with straight facts. We don't come up with all these crazy opinions, though we do. Actually, I lied. We do come up with crazy opinions, but we come in with facts. Everything that we say is true. When we talk about, hey, 20-game winning streak, that's a big deal. Not everybody says it's a big deal, but guess what? It is a big deal. They have won 20 in a row, and we are not, as a college football whole, giving them the credit that they deserve. But
Right.
we are facts here, man. Fact it up.
And 20 wins is a fact. Most of those wins being against bad opponents that other arguers use, that's also a fact. And it's a good fact. The problem that we have, Loudbeard, and I think I can speak for you on this, is your inconsistency with your logic. The fact that you can look at UCF and say, you don't play nobody. And then you watch Alabama, LSU, Florida, Oklahoma, Georgia, Ohio State. Insert big-name college team here that you have in your top 10, and they also play nobody. They schedule Louisiana Monroe. They schedule Eastern Michigan. No, wait, Purdue scheduled Eastern Michigan and lost to them. I'll get back to that later. But they schedule Charleston Southern, and you sit there and you beat your chest about like, oh, look how impressive we are. We beat Charleston Southern by 60 points. Yay, go Florida. We're the best. We deserve to be ranked. And then y'all play each other. You beat up on each other. And one of you comes out with 10, 11, 12 wins. And you say, look at us. I beat one team. I'm good. I beat LSU. They played nobody. They've beaten nobody. But, hey, we played them. They're good. They have a big number next to their name. Loudbeard, I'm over it, man. I think I'm over it. I used to be such a huge college football fan. It was my favorite over the NFL, but I think that's because as growing up as a Gator fan, growing up in the state of Florida where NFL is trash and for more times than not, and college football has been supreme, I think that's why I bought into the throne of lies that college football sells everybody on. And a lot of the lies, the biggest lie they ever tell, Loudbeard, is that every game matters. That the NFL, you can lose 3 or 4 games. It doesn't matter. You can still make the playoffs. You can lose 8 games and still make the playoffs. So you could take weeks off. Loudbeard, have you ever seen an NFL team truly take a week off?
No, never. I mean, maybe if it was week 17 and they have to rest all their starters.
Right,
And
right.
they're, I've seen that happen with like a Patriots team or a Colts team when they had Peyton Manning and they were 14-2 or 14-1, and they're like, we're going to take this game off because we're already in the playoffs because we played it on the field. Real quick, Chris America, I just have to read this. I don't know if you got a chance to see this on Twitter.
Oh, I did.
The AD, Danny
Yes.
White, he penned a letter, and I just want to real quick maybe read this out on air because I think this is a good letter that really deserves a little bit of love here. So, game day crew, I heard that on Saturday you debated UCF's now 20-game win streak and said that it shouldn't be all about UCF. When talking about playoff eligibility, I couldn't agree more. College football is the only sport in America that is not settled on the field. We need to fix that. I heard our winning streak was met with comment of who cares? What? Sports should be all about wins and losses and not about the brand on a jersey. College football has become a subjective popularity contest. The Knights represent all of the teams who, for reasons of history, geography, or politics, are left out of the club. These factors will not define our bright future. Our student athletes, don't want anything given to them. They just want a chance. No one likes having their accomplishments disrespected. UCF fans are knowledgeable and passionate, and I applaud them for using social media to have their voices heard. The American Athletic Conference partners with ESPN. As such, we hope to work with you as partners to fix this broken model. Will you join us? Danny White.
Boom.
So what'd you
drop the
think
mic.
of that, man?
No,
That's a
I
mic
read
drop.
that and I loved it. He's spot on, man. This is college football, and the way they define a champion is not sport. This is not why we love sports. There's many reasons why we love sports, and ranking systems and politics and money and all of this stuff involved into it is not why we love sports. I don't care what the I know the TV network cares what the TV ratings are when it comes to their playoffs and championship games, but I don't. If the World Series were to be against Milwaukee versus Tampa, and those are the two best teams in MLB baseball, I don't give a crap if New York and LA are a bunch of crybaby baseball fans that decide not to watch because they're poor sports. I don't care. I want to see the best two teams on the field who have earned their way to a championship, not given to them by some committee board or ranking systems or even computers. I want to see the two teams that earned their way there. And I just want to go back to the throne of lies about college football and every week matters. I can't buy into that lie anymore when LSU and Auburn and Alabama and Florida and Ohio State and USC and all of these guys that we mentioned are all playing teams that are from lower tier football programs. I sit there and I watch NFL. I got the NFL ticket for the second time in my life, and I'm watching this season, Loudbeard, and it's just one solid team after another. If you asked anybody to rank these teams, you might be able to say that it's number 1 is the Rams, number 2, now you're arguing, is it the Patriots or is it the Chiefs? I don't know. They're so close. We know that the Patriots beat the Chiefs, so let's put them number 2. But you know what, Loudbeard? It doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter who's number 1 or who's number 2 in the NFL.
No, we talk about power rankings. We can talk about who we think is number one.
Right.
But guess what? They're going to have to play on the field to determine who is the best team. They're going to have to beat the teams against each other. Like, they're going to have to go head-to-head and say, okay, who's the best team? Not based on, I think you're better than this team because you beat that team, and your point differential and your strength of schedule and your manure is all smelling a little bit better today than that other team's manure. That's what this is all about.
I watched there were several teams that I watched. You see a 4-3 Ravens playing a 4-2. So they were 4-2 versus 4-1. It was 4-1 Saints versus 4-2 Ravens. Two closely matched teams. Now the Ravens are 4-3. What 3-loss team isn't even in the top 25, Loudbeard, in college football?
You're hard to find one.
It's hard to find one. But would
Really
you
hard.
say that the Ravens aren't a playoff contender, that they aren't a good, solid football team because they're 4-3?
No, I can say that they're still a contender. They're tough, and they've played good on the field. So, yeah, they're going to be in that conversation.
Your Redskins have 3 losses. They played another 3-loss teams. Now they're 3-4 Dallas Cowboys. I look at the Dallas Cowboys, and you look at their schedule, and you understand why they're 3-4. They're 3-4 because they had to play a bunch of other teams that are also really, really good. Every single weekend, Loudbeard, we see evenly matched teams playing each other, and the scores on the box scores at the end of the day show that. You have teams going into overtime consistently. You have teams winning by a touchdown. You have teams that are losing on a last-minute drive, whether it falls short or they miss a field goal, whatever it is. But you don't have teams running up the score 65-30 on lower-tier teams. I look at San Francisco. We talked about San Francisco last week, Loudbeard, and how good of a football team they are, and that their 1-6 record doesn't show that. If San Francisco were to play the Orlando Predators and the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Toronto, their name escapes me now, with the Argonauts, if they were to load up their schedule with a bunch of lower-tiered pro sports teams, San Francisco would probably be 5-2 right now. Right?
Yeah, I agree with that, yes.
And then when the Rams blow them out, the Rams get to say, oh, look, we blew out this really good 5-2 San Francisco team, so rank us number 1 and just throw us in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as long as they don't have to play Purdue.
Yeah, as long as the Rams don't have to play Purdue, they're good. So give the San Francisco 49ers Alabama schedule, and they'll be 8-0.
That's so true, man. This whole weekend, I mean, Saturday, I sit there, I watch the UCF game, and it's a good game. They got their backup quarterback in. They still end up stomping ECU, who ECU's not a great team, but it's still a college football level talented team. And they go in there and they get a good win. And this is the second week in a row, and you alluded to this earlier, is you had a team on a bye week jump UCF. So there is definitely a matter of disrespect when a team that does not play at all jumps you when you go in and get a big win on the road. So back-to-back weeks, winning road games against conference opponents, and you're going to sit there and tell me that deserves being leapfrogged by these big programs. And Chris America, you're a big Florida Gator fan. You're probably excited to see the Gators in the top 10, but I know that deep down inside, you're also at heart a UCF fan, and you see that and you say, where's the justice to this? Like, you probably feel almost a little guilty as a Florida fan to say, we didn't even play this week. On our bye week, the only way we should jump up is if a team loses badly ahead of us, like Ohio State. Not if a team wins. If a team wins, you shouldn't be up there. Right now in college football, there are 5 undefeated teams. 3 of them are the top 3 teams ranked in these AP polls, coaches polls, whatever polls you're looking at. 1, 2, and 3. What is it? Alabama, Clemson, and Notre Dame. And so then when you jump down off of that, the next 2 teams that are undefeated are UCF and USF. They're both American Athletic Conference teams, which automatically gives them disrespect from all of these Power 5 teams that are out there saying, oh, they play a soft schedule, they do this, they do that. I don't care who you are or where you're from. It is a difficult task to win week in and week out against college football competition, no matter what the program is. Ohio State will tell you that. They took a huge loss to Purdue. Clemson struggled against Syracuse. Notre Dame struggled against Pitt. We can go down the list, and all of these teams have had their struggles where they cannot necessarily hang. The only team that hasn't struggled is Alabama, and right now they are head and shoulders above everybody else. If anybody says they're not ranked number one, I would disagree. Alabama should be number one. I don't think we would ever argue that. But these other teams, Clemson could have easily lost to Syracuse. They could have easily lost to Texas A&M. They have had some really, really close wins. But when they do that, they say, oh, look at that. They battled it out. It was tough. When UCF beats Memphis by one, everybody's like, oh, see, I told you they're garbage. It's like, come on. The argument is so hypocritical. College football, by definition, has become just a hypocrite sport where you just want to make an argument that your team is better. Kirk Herbstreit doesn't want to admit that UCF is better than Ohio State. So he was sitting up there and trying to throw shade on College Game Day at UCF. And guess what? Your team got blown out by Purdue. Now how do you feel? I don't see him out there. All the UCF fans are trolling him. He's not responding because he knows his takes are garbage, man. I don't know. I'm getting a little emotional here, Chris America.
No.
Take it over, my friend.
His take on UCF is, again, why I'm so tired of college football. It was the laziest take I've ever heard, and everybody has a lazy take on UCF. And what I mean by lazy is nobody is saying that I think UCF would lose to these teams because their secondary is always out of position or their front line is really thin at depth and they struggle against big offensive linemen and that's why teams gash them for the run. Or Mackenzie Milton has a trouble reading, blitzes and never makes his reads. If you actually made a football evaluation on UCF that lets me know you at least watched every single game, then I would be like, okay, that actually makes sense. I see what they're talking about and everything else. But when you make, and I'm going to say it not by verbatim, I'm going to paraphrase what Herbstreit said. He basically said, App State, Utah State, Fresno State, and whoever else he listed, these teams are better on paper. I look at their schedules, and they're a lot harder schedules than what UCF is playing. So, therefore, UCF isn't as good as these teams because they're not beating the same teams that these other teams are beating. Who evaluates sports that way? I have no idea who looks at schedules and says, well, because they beat better teams, they must be a better team. Like, that makes no sense. If I'm if I took two high school basketball teams and one played a third grade basketball team and the other one played a fifth grade basketball team, I wouldn't say that either one of those teams are better than each other based on who they played. It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And that's why the AD at UCF has to pen a letter to College Game Day and say, hey, listen up. We just want an opportunity. All we do is go out and win. And we just want you guys to give us the fair respect we deserve. These are student athletes. You're picking on college kids and making them out like they're the worst ever because you are just afraid of the little brother to come in and punch you in the face and knock you out because you think you're the big bad Ohio State guy, Kurt Herbstreit. You don't want to admit that there could be a team out there that's not in your conference, that is not in your Power 5, and that it's not in your top rankings that you think could beat your team, and you're afraid of that. So you come out with the lazy takes that this is not, like, oh, Fresno State's better, oh, App State's better. Yes, App State has losses on their schedule, on their record. What other team has gone and hasn't lost in 2 years? Can you name one, Chris America?
I can name one. I can name one team that has no losses on their schedule, and that's UCF. And again, we're not even saying that UCF is the number one team in the nation. We're not even saying UCF guaranteed would win a college football playoff. All we're saying is let there be a system that puts them in and gives them a chance to prove you right or prove us right. Either way, stop talking about it. Look, like you said, we're not taking away anything from Alabama. Alabama is a tremendous football team. but I'm tired of your double standard of what you're going to say about Alabama and their schedule and what you'll say about teams like UCF or Kentucky even. How Kentucky wasn't even a number one team as an SEC team, moving up in the rankings. Somehow they were like I don't know what the highest they climbed to, but I think it was like 11 or 12 before losing to Texas A&M. Like the double standards it's just asinine and stupid.
It is ridiculous. UCF this week has their bye week, so I think it's it's already like being thrown out there that they're going to probably fall a couple spots just because they're not playing anybody. They
should move up. They have a common opponent with Florida and Oklahoma. Florida and Oklahoma beat bye week. They moved up.
I'm telling you, and I get it. You don't want your whole careers to be a mockery because these guys, these talking heads, and not only the talking heads, it's all these programs. It's like there's this elitism that goes on, and they just don't want to admit that there could be another team. Florida is one of the best recruiting states, if not the best recruiting state in all of college football. When you look top to bottom at the teams coming out of Florida, you know that these teams are going to be competitive no matter what. When you look at the so-called big boys, the Florida State, Miamis, yes, they get great talent. But guess what? The teams also getting great talent are FAU, UCF, USF. There's so much talent in Florida, and all of these teams are good. And you can't tell me that FAU, even though they're a small program, that with Lane Kiffin and the amount of talent that they have, they could go out and punch a Power 5 team in the mouth and knock them out easily. But nobody wants to say, oh, let's just go ahead and give anybody credit. No, they want to say, no, our big teams are always going to be better, and they're always going to be the teams that we are going to rank number one, and we're going to be oppressive. This is an oppressive society that we live in with college football. The college football society, you have a bunch of oppressors, and we're trying to break through this. Danny White, UCF, Scout Team Radio are trying to break through the oppressors, and we're going to try to make college football great again. And Chris America, I don't know if I can keep going on about this. It's too early in the morning. My heart rate's getting high. I think I might have a heart attack here on the air. I don't know.
I think we need to take an early break, if that's okay with you, so we can catch our breath. We can reset, and we'll move on and go over this weekend of NFL and college football games, because there was a lot of good college games and NFL games, and this discussion takes away from that. And that's what I love. Again, that's another difference about the NFL is there's nothing taking away from what actually happened on the football field this weekend. Nobody's having their wins diminished. Nobody's having their losses overly, overqualified, or that was a quality loss or anything crazy like that. So let's take a break and let's go over the games. And let's also talk a little bit of NBA basketball where there was a little bit of a skirmish.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll be back on the flip side.
When I'm working hard, I build up a thirst for sports. That's when I grab a cold 12-ounce sports radio. "12-ounce sports radio. Quench your sports thirst."
Oh, guess who it is? Did you know the station had a janitor? Oh, yeah, the Jefe, otherwise known as Beck. And it's Beck's Work Week in Review live on 12-ounce sports radio every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch interviews, special guests, and the recap of the week's news and headlines and box scores and results. It's Beck's Work Week in Review live on 12-ounce sports radio.
Scout Team listeners and friends of the show, I've got something special for you. It looks like 12-ounce sports radio has done it again. We have partnered with Rally House. You just go to the website 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner on the right side of the page, and it will take you directly to Rally House. Rally House has some of the greatest, most unique sports items for that diehard fan, casual fan, and anybody and everybody out there that is special in your life. So go ahead and check it out. Once again, go to that website, 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner to the right of the page, and you will get taken to the best sports merchandise website on all of the interweb. Do you own a small business? Are you looking for solutions to all of your communications problems and challenges that you have? Check out Ring Central. Give them a call. They have partnered with 12ouncesportsradio.com to give you the best rates on all of your business and office solutions for communication. Give them a call today. We have a dedicated line for all of the 12-ounce sports radio listeners. It is 1-877-779-3860. You will get a representative on the phone who will help you with all of your small business communications needs. Once again, give them a call today, 1-877-779-3860. Yeah, welcome back. Once again, you are listening to Scout Team Sports. He's Chris America. I'm Loudbeard, and we are bringing it to you hot this Monday morning, October 22nd. And we are live on the airwaves Monday through Friday, each and every weekday at 6 a.m. and again at 11 a.m. on 12ouncesportsradio.com. If you missed any of the old episodes, you can always hit them up on our website, scoutteamradio.com. And if you want to get social, which we love getting social, check us out on Twitter at Scout Team Radio. We love seeing all those tweets while we go live. And even after the show's over, we respond to those tweets. We're always social. Oh, man, what a great day. Monday mornings are awesome. Okay, maybe I lied about that. But when you bring it in with the Scout Team, you know your Monday morning's going to be awesome. We love bringing it to you real. We bring it to you the way it should be. We talked a lot of UCF to get started, but we have a great lineup to the rest of the day on 12-ounce Sports Radio. Check it out. 8 a.m., you got Clutch Talk Sports. Clutch Talk Sports is one of the affiliates from Sports Radio America. Great job over there. At noon, you have Memphis Spence. Primetime Angles is on tonight. Jimmy Young has his show that he's doing. What's Up Sports? He's got it going Monday through Friday nowadays. It's on later today. Always check out the schedule on 12-ounce Sports Radio. You're going to love what we have to offer. All right, Chris America. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Well, we had some college football games that were played, and every time this team wins, we like to play their fight songs for Loudbeard, or sorry, not Loudbeard, but the man with the golden mic. His Florida State Seminoles won, so we got to play their fight song. Give me a second here. Cue it up.
All right, cue it up. Oh.
Backpack, backpack. Backpack, backpack. On the backpack, loaded up with things and knickknacks too. Anything that you might need, I got inside for you. Backpack, backpack. Backpack, backpack. Yeah!
Yeah, Florida State won, and we got to play their backpack fight song. The turnover pack worked against the Wake Forest Golden Deacons. Is that what their name is? Or Demon Deacons, sorry.
Demons.
Golden Mikes, Golden Knights.
Halloween season, spooky season.
Spooky season. So congratulations, Florida State. You got to win against an ACC opponent. I don't know if that means you're good or if that means you're still bad, but you got to win.
Yeah, Wake Forest is known as being a powerhouse in college football.
Powerhouse. They had, who's that guy from the San Antonio Spurs? Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is from Wake Forest, therefore Wake Forest is a good football team.
Absolutely. I like your correlation there. That's perfect.
Yeah, connect the dots.
Your good friend over there, Miss America, she had a rivalry matchup going on. She's a big Michigan fan, and they were up against their big state rival, Michigan State. But really, the rivalry in the game wasn't as much, or I guess the game wasn't as big as the rivalry. Now, I saw that Michigan player out there doing his, best impression of, a bull getting ready to rush the field.
Yep.
And he was sitting there, and he was kicking up the symbol there in the middle of the field. What is this all about? I feel like this was kind of dirty by this Michigan player, Devin Bush. What do you think?
Well, it was a response to dirtiness from Michigan. Michigan came out of the locker room. They made this like daisy chain. I don't know what it was, but not a daisy chain. They made this
Michigan
chain.
State did. Yes.
Michigan State did. They locked arms and they did their chain thing, and then they just marched across the field into Michigan warm-ups, and they started clotheslining players and everything else. And so that was sort of his response. I thought it was a little bit of a childish response, but it was a response nonetheless. And he had to, I mean, look, Michigan State came out with some thuggery. They came out with some nonsense. This isn't, what is that game where you say, send this person over and then they got to try and break the arms?
Badminton. I think you're thinking of badminton.
Red Rover, send Michigan on over. Is that what it's called, Red Rover?
I think
Yeah.
so. That sounds about right. I haven't played that in quite a few years. I don't even know if that's still a sport.
I don't think it was ever a sport. But if there were, we'd have a playoff
When you're
committee
7, it is definitely a sport. You say, what sport you want to play? Oh, Red Rover.
Red Rover, duh. Come on. So they thought it was a sport, and they decided to play it before the game started, and then Michigan went and pounded them 21-7. Michigan's defense was stifling. I think they held them to right at 100 yards or under 100 yards of total offense. Michigan State could not get anything going.
Yeah, Michigan's defense has been the story this year for Michigan. They have kept them in these games. And, we talk about like Shea Patterson and we talk about what the offense can do or could be doing because it's an offensive league. Football has become an offensive sport. But every once in a while, you get these dynamic defenses, and Michigan has shown it week in and week out. All of these games, they're not having any games with a lot of points. It's just these grind-them-out games. And the defense for Michigan is one of the best, if not the best, defense in all of college football. And I would love to see them go up against one of these big offensive juggernauts and just punch them in the face and show that, hey, when you go up against a good defense, things aren't as easy as when you're going up against a team like Mercer or Alabama South State or whatever they call these teams.
And now with Ohio State getting blown out by Purdue, this really opened up the narrative for the Big Ten. We basically said everybody counted Michigan off, and I don't understand why. But the whole narrative this whole season's just been, Ohio State's just going to roll right through, and we'll see if they can challenge Alabama or Clemson or whoever else in the college playoff. Now that we've seen that Ohio State is a very weak football team as far as getting started and then overcoming those starts, I think Michigan has the door open for them. This has got to be their year that Jim Harbaugh rallies the troops and says, look, Purdue wrote the story on how they wrote the game plan, the blueprint on how to beat Ohio State. Let's execute it better than they do, and let's punch them in the mouth. Ohio State had a really, really hard time moving the football against Purdue. In fact, I think it was 6 points all the way up until the middle of the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken. They're going to have a tougher time moving the ball against this Michigan defense.
Oh, big time. Oh, yeah. This is going to be this is setting up to be a good battle, but now I think Michigan's obviously going to have the advantage. I mean, going in before they even put it on the field, I'd say I would put Michigan ahead of Ohio State just because of that defense. That would be, there's no other way to put that.
As Aaron Rodgers' agent says, defense wins championships, and that's why he put security guards around his truck.
Oh, good old commercials, huh? Yeah. All right, so some other college football games. Clemson up against NC State. Battle of undefeated.
Can you give me an idiot sandwich, please? I deserve one here. I need to choke it down a little bit. I feel like it's necessary.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
Loudbeard, I said with confidence that NC State would beat Clemson. I said it a few times on Twitter. I called my shot. I don't know what got into me, but it was an idiot sandwich. That's what's got into me. I did not see – I thought Clemson would honestly win, but I didn't see them blowing them out. Clemson finally looked impressive against somebody.
Yeah, they've had so many unimpressive games this year. That's why I was struggling to keep them in the top 3 personally because, again, I mentioned earlier the Texas A&M game. They barely squeaked by A&M. They barely squeaked by Syracuse. And then they go up against this NC State team that has a ton of momentum, that hasn't had a single loss this year, and they blow them out. That's why each and every game is so important because you never know what you're going to get on the field. You can't just predict it. You can't just rank these teams. NC State, I thought, had the advantage coming in because I thought they were hot. I thought they were ready. I thought Clemson was going to evaluate them and think that maybe overcompensate for them. But no, Clemson came out and they were ready, and I was impressed by Clemson. And that's probably the first time this year I could say that.
Yeah, it was a good win by Clemson, and I don't have anything to add to that. The rest of the schedule was kind of lackluster. We saw Alabama blow out a really, really, really bad Tennessee team. Some people thought, Tennessee beat Auburn. Maybe they're back. Maybe they can give them a fight. No, they can't. Auburn's just a bad team.
It's still Tennessee.
It's still Tennessee. They're still Alabama. They're still the number one team in the nation. We're not going to see Alabama get
Washington
tested.
State was also a good game. You don't leave that one out.
I won't leave that one out.
All right. We like the West Coast. We leave out the West Coast sometimes.
We
we're
do.
East Coast guys.
Yeah, but there's not really any good football games going on over there. Anyway, so, yeah, bad game out there. But, yeah, Washington State, Oregon, take it away.
All right, well, Washington State, they get the big victory. They're 25th ranked, and they go up against the 12th ranked Oregon. I mean, I've loved Oregon this year. I was surprised how well they've come out and played, and I thought Oregon would take it to Washington State, but it was the other way around. Washington State takes it to them. Watching College game day ahead of time, which may be the last time I ever watched College game day because of Kirk Herbstreit's awful comments about UCF, but watching it ahead of time, they did a little segment on the guy that started the whole flag routine. So every College game day over the last 12 years has had a Washington State flag, and they have this whole club of people that will carry this flag. Depending on where College game day is, somebody will show up with the flag. They have to ship it to everybody. And this guy, he was an alumni, and in his basement, he had sewn up a flag, and once he started carrying it, it has been this big tradition. And I will say, like you had talked about why people love college football, this is why people love college football, is because there is a lot of tradition, and you love some of the crazy fans that are out there. And I think the crazy fans are what makes college football great. And knowing that every College game day has had the Washington State banner hung up loud and proud has been kind of an inspiration. And I will say that this year at College game day, I am proud to be a UCF Knight, and every game you see, every College game day, you see the UCF banners flying in the background. UCF is kind of taking on this same persona, but Washington State, they started it, and I am proud to say that Washington State, man, good for you guys. This is awesome. I love seeing these traditions where fans make it fun. That's what sports are about, and it was in Washington State, and they represented their hometown, and they represented well, so good for Washington State.
What's funny about those Washington State fans is whoever that is the life I want to have. They're not only at every College game day, Loudbeard, they were at the Olympics in Brazil. I saw it was like outside of one of the volleyball games or something, and they had, ABC or NBC, whoever was covering the event, there was a guy with the Washington State flag right behind them waving it proud, and I just assume that it's the same people from College game day.
Well, I think it is the same people because they have it's a club with like 4,000 people in it.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I thought it was one person.
Well, there was one guy that started it. He's like this 6'7", like super tall guy that nobody could ever miss. So when he was carrying the flag, everybody's like, look at that giant guy with the flag. And he started it 12 years ago. And then he tried to make it to every game, and I think he did for the first couple years. Well, then it was got to be really hard. So he other people were like, hey, if you can't make it, I'll make it. And then all of a sudden it turned into this network where, oh, well, if you two can't make it, maybe I'll make it. So all of a sudden it expanded, and it's like people all over the country it's almost like a booster club, but they fund everything. They ship it, the flag wherever it needs to go. They do all of this stuff. And I mean, just how elaborate it is and how much money it would cost to fly people to different places. They were talking about on College game day how once one of the games, College game days was on a Navy ship. And so it was really hard to get the security clearance to get the flag in there, and they had to find a military member. So even when they shipped the flag in by itself, it had to go through 10 extra steps to make sure it wasn't laced with anthrax or whatever you would do with a flag to make it illegal to bring on a Navy base. But they got it on there, and some guy waved it on the Navy ship. I mean, they've found ways around getting this thing everywhere, and that's one of those traditions that's what makes college football special. It's not, hey, Alabama's going to be number one every year. That's not special to me. What's special to me is the fans going out, showing their love and showing their support at every event, and that's what the Washington State team has done for their school. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And apparently UCF fans get hated for showing support of their school, and their AD needs to just shut up because, I mean, you just need to shut your mouth and get in line. But, Loudbeard, I'm tired of college football now. We've spent a whole 40 minutes of our show on it, and I think that needs to change on Mondays because the NFL is by far superior of a product, and we don't give it the amount of time that's needed. We had 6 games decided by a touchdown or less yesterday, Loudbeard. That, to me, is more entertaining than watching Tennessee and Alabama or I don't know who else. Purdue pounding this awful Ohio State team.
I don't know. That was really entertaining when Purdue pounded Ohio State.
It was
example.
entertaining.
Yeah.
It
was really, really it was awesome.
But, yeah, we want to see teams that are equal in talent, teams that are equal in coaching, and we've been getting that every single week. I don't know if we've had 6 total games of top 25 teams playing each other and it being a one-touchdown game. I mean, where do we start, Loudbeard? We had your Redskins holding off the Cowboys. We had my Panthers coming back down 17-0 in the fourth quarter to win 21-17. You had the Chicago Bears and the Patriots just trading blows back and forth, and that game ended on a Hail Mary caught at the 1 and just bottled up and stopped right at the 1-inch line. I mean, where do we start, Loudbeard?
There's so many places to start. Let's talk about your Carolina Panthers. That's a good place to start. So big comeback. I'm watching this game. It's up 17-0. I'm not watching that game. I saw like the highlights as I'm watching another game, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, "Wow, Carolina's going to get blown out." Okay.
Not
and
just
then
blown
I come
out,
back,
shutout,
blown out at all. And then I come back and I look, and this is in Philadelphia. So you're thinking, okay, the crowd's getting into it. They're up 17-0. There's no way Carolina comes back. I look at the final score. It's almost like I blink, and all of a sudden it's 21-17, and Carolina gets the big win. And I'm thinking, wow. The takeaway from this game isn't the fact that we already knew that Carolina was good. And that's a great comeback for Carolina. Is the Philadelphia Eagles are the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. They're having a tough year. It does not look like the Eagles may repeat, let alone they might not even get in the playoffs. They might not even make the playoffs. They are not the best team in the NFC East, and they're just, I don't know, man. It may be a letdown year for the Eagles. I'm not seeing this team pulling it together. What did you take? Because I'm pretty sure you watched every minute of this game. What was your takeaway about the Philadelphia Eagles?
The takeaway is that the Panthers need to stop with the slow starts. That's for one. They had a slow start last week against your Redskins. They tried to come back. They almost did. They were right there at like the 25-yard line, and they couldn't convert a fourth down. This time, they drove all the way down, and they converted. They scored the touchdown, and they got the win. That's my first takeaway. Cam, you need to start getting this offense going earlier. My second takeaway, and it's the same back to what we talked about with the NFL, man. The NFL generally tries to give the Super Bowl champ the hardest schedule. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Eagles have played nothing but a bunch of, top teams in the NFL. I mean, they've played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had no business losing to Tampa Bay. They played Indianapolis. That's an easy win. They played Tennessee. That should have been an easy win. But Tennessee is also just one of those teams that you don't know which team you're getting. You could get a playoff contending type team, or you can get a team that wants the top 10 in the draft. You never know what you're going to get, and the Eagles got the playoff contending team. Then they played Minnesota, the number one team in one of the hardest divisions, the Minnesota Vikings. They got a break with the New York Giants, and then they have to play Carolina Panthers, who are second in the NFC South, another great division. I mean, it just is what it is. In the NFL, you don't get passes. You don't get to play lesser teams than you. You don't get to play teams from other divisions and other football leagues. You have to play NFL teams, and right now they're 3-4. I think they'll turn it around, though, Loudbeard.
Yeah, I mean, they could turn it around. Carson Wentz looks like he's finally getting his stride. I mean, he didn't start the season out. You had Nick Foles starting it out, so this team needed to get a little bit of chemistry. It looks like him and Alshon Jeffrey have a ton of chemistry. They seem like they're hitting it up. I do think losing Jay Ajayi was a hit for the Eagles.
Oh, big hit.
Big hit. And so they've got some good running backs. I mean, they've got Darren Sproles still on the team, Wendell Smallwood. But I think they're missing that, like, pound it down the middle running back, and that's going to hurt them. They've got those guys that are a little bit smaller, that are good in the receiving game, but they are missing a little bit of a piece there. But I don't know that they can turn it around. It's such a fine line between being great and being terrible in the NFL.
Yeah.
And that fine line can definitely be summed up with the Cleveland Browns season. And I'm going to just segue right into it. The Browns go 4 overtimes this season. 4 overtimes. They could easily be right now sitting 5-2 or 5-1 or wherever we're at in the season. But they go in and
they could be sitting at 0-7.
Or they could be sitting at 0-7. It's unbelievable. That's that fine line. All you need is a couple breaks to go your way, and all of a sudden you can be a great team. And I say that, and I mean, I'm not going to put down what Tom Brady has done in his career or what the Patriots have done, but they won their first 3 Super Bowls all by 3 points, all on the leg of Adam Vinatieri.
Right.
You look at where the NFL is today, and the kickers are just not as clutch as they used to be. Justin Tucker loses it for the Ravens off of an extra point because of, just an extra point. The first career extra point miss. They lose the game because of an extra point. And then in this Bucs game, the Bucs should have won it in regular season. It was the
regulation.
Regulation. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you very much, Chris America. I appreciate the help there. You're a good co-host, and I appreciate that. You're like my second favorite co-host. So in regulation, the Bucs should have won it, but Catanzaro misses a makeable kick, and then they go into overtime, and then a kick he should not have made, a 59-yarder, when he had missed like a 43 or 47-yarder earlier in the game. He makes it, and he totally sends the Cleveland Browns back with a loss, and the Browns, they have to be hanging their heads saying, what are we doing wrong? I liked Hugh Jackson. I thought he was going to be the one to make this work. If you live in Cleveland or if you know anything about the Cleveland sports landscape, everybody wants Hugh to be gone. I think he has maybe been a detriment to this team. It is time now to move on from Hugh Jackson. I think the Browns need to do that. Mayfield is the future, but that offense is still missing something. It's like there's so many 3-and-outs that they just gave the Bucs too many opportunities. They had the chance, they had the ball in overtime, and they just couldn't do anything with it. And that right there is kind of the definition of the Cleveland Browns. Is they're good enough, but they just can't get over that hump. And this was another example of Cleveland being Cleveland.
Yeah, and I mean, you didn't even cover the fact that they traded away Carlos Hyde. I think he was their leading rusher on a Friday. I don't understand that at all, how you trade away, how you get a guy, you're going through your preparations of the week, with a running back, your starting running back, and then on Friday, 2 days before, you go to the rest of your team like, hey, I know you guys have been repping with the 2s and 3s, or I know that you've been taking your notes and everything, but now we've sent away our number 1 running back, and we need you guys to step up this weekend and fill in that spot. It makes no sense to me. It's just all questionable moves. I don't even think they got anything back for Carlos Hyde.
I think it was a 5th-round draft pick or something.
A 5th-round draft pick. I mean, you might as well just give them a cheeseburger. I don't know, but, it was a good move on Jacksonville's part. And we'll talk a little bit about them. They basically have been in desperation mode looking for someone to fill Leonard Fournette's spot. They signed, who did they sign? Jamal Charles a week ago. Yep. That clearly didn't pan out, and so they're like, okay, well, what's our next answer? Right now, Jacksonville's just squirming for answers at that running back position, so they trade for Carlos Hyde. Obviously, they can't get him ready to go in 2 days with their team, so they fall on their face against the Houston Texans. And I was going to segue into this, but you segued into the Browns. The Philadelphia's next opponent, they're at 3-4. Their next opponent is Jacksonville at 3-4. These are 2 teams, one that made the AFC Championship, the other one that won the Super Bowl, that are at a crossroads right now, Loudbeard. And I really do think both of these teams are in must-win mode.
Oh, 100% must-win mode. I guess the big question out of Jacksonville, and I hate to say this, my guy, Blake Bortles, who I've supported for a very long time, And that may be just me being a homer and loving the UCF guy. It looks like his time in Jacksonville may have come to an end. Doug Marrone comes out and he says, he needed a spark. He needed his offense to get a little bit of a spark. So he benches Blake Bortles. He puts in Cody Kessler, Cleveland Browns legend. And then you see a little bit of spark from the offense. They drive down, they get a touchdown, but then they sputter again and they can't do anything. And I look at it, and I do think part of the problem is the wide receiving core. There was a ton of drops by Jacksonville receivers, not only with Blake Bortles, but with Cody Kessler on both sides of the ball, or both quarterbacks. You could see that wide receiving core is just not good. I mean, there's guys out there that you could not even name, and the other guys that you can name, it's only because they were on your fantasy football team last week. There's nobody on this team on the receiving side that you can say, wow, that's a threat. There isn't. The Jacksonville Jaguars have not had any good receivers. They lost Allen Robinson last year. He went to free agency. He goes to Chicago Bears. They did not bring anybody in. They lost Allen Hurns. Allen Hurns goes to the Dallas Cowboys. They have D.D. Westbrook, I believe, is their leading wide receiver. And after that, I'm trying to think of which other guys were catching balls out there. There's just not any depth there. And I think that's come back to hurt them. So you thought you were going to be ground and pound with Leonard Fournette. All he is injury prone. And so then you're left with T.J. Yeldon. Well, Yeldon's a good, hey, let me catch the ball out of the backfield receiver, but he's not a good ground and pound running back. And now you're hoping to have a great defense with a good running game, and you have neither. The defense is struggling because the offense is 3 and out every down and distance. It's never working out for them, and the defense is getting wore out. Calais Campbell's injured, and he's going out there with a bad hip, and he's just trying to make it himself relevant, and you have so many good stars on that defense, but they cannot play as much as they're playing. The offense has to help them out somehow, and they're not. And all of a sudden, it's just all falling apart in Jacksonville.
Yeah. It's just you're going to have a league now where you're going to have quarterbacks like Blake Bortles, like my Cam Newton, who at times you're just pulling your hair out. They're wildly inconsistent with their throws. They're not making their reads or the correct reads. They're just insane. But then they can come alive and they can go off on defense. Like Cam had a terrible first 3 quarters, and then he was 16-22 for 201 yards. He finished the game with 269 yards, and 201 of them came in the fourth quarter. And you're wondering, where do you get that? Why can't that be the entire game? I think we're gonna have a league where that's your sort of not really your floor, but close to the bottom, where you're just like, oh, he's right there. He's good, but he's not great. And then you're gonna have guys like Carson Wentz, like Tom Brady, like Drew Brees, and then like my boy Patrick Mahomes, who just makes every throw, who makes every play. Where if you see a wild throw or a bad interception, you're like, oh well, those are few and far in between. And I don't know that Bortles is ever going to get to that next level of where Carson Wentz is, or where Patrick Mahomes is, or where Jared Goff is. I don't know that Bortles is going to get there. And as much as it pains me to say, because I am a Bortles guy, I like his story. The kid out of Oviedo High School here locally, tight end, wanted to play quarterback. He was a quarterback that wanted to play quarterback in the college, and everybody wanted him to play tight end. But George O'Leary says, you can come be my quarterback. And he goes from the guy that everybody wants to play tight end to the 3rd overall pick in the NFL. And whether it was deserved or not, that's what he went to, and that's what he was. And it just sucks that he's not going to see. I don't think he's ever going to see it through, Loudbeard.
Yeah, that is kind of frustrating. I mean, it was kind of a bad week for quarterbacks in general.
Except
Obviously,
for Patrick
Bortles,
Mahomes.
Except for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I won't say for every quarterback, but
I mean, Mitch Trubisky and Tom Brady was fun to watch this past weekend.
Well, I guess maybe it's the rookies, or maybe it's the guys that get shoved in when they should be retired. But like Josh Rosen looked awful. Sam Darnold looked awful.
Terrible.
Derek Anderson looked awful.
Terrible.
Blake Bortles looked awful. I mean, there was some bad QB play out in the NFL this week. And like you said, Cam Newton looked awful for 3 quarters. I mean, he fixed it by having a good fourth quarter. But still, you saw some really bad quarterback play out there. And watching the Cowboys and Redskins, neither of those quarterbacks did anything impressive. That was more of a defensive battle.
running-
and
running game.
Prescott and Smith, they were just, they were good but not great. They were very kind of just average, I guess is the best way to
They
put
both
it.
had like 2 or 3 drives that they were able to string together, and they looked good doing it. And then the rest of the game, it was just kind of average.
Yeah, and Jared Goff looks good because he's got Todd Gurley running the ball, who is I don't even know how to describe
Jared Goff looks
how
good because he's got
good-
Todd Gurley, Cooper Kupp, Cooks, and he's got an offensive-minded coach that knows how to coach offense. Like I was going to say, if Sean McVay was in Cleveland, I could not imagine how good that Cleveland offense would look.
Oh, unbelievable.
Well,
Well, Chris
we ran
America,
out of
it's
time,
about
my
that time, man.
Yeah, we got Monday Night Football tonight. It is the Giants versus Falcons. Kind of a stinker, but this is the kind of game that the Falcons need to turn their season around. They haven't had a good go at it either. They're 2-4. They need to feast on the Giants tonight, or they're done.
It's feast or famine here at Scout Team.
Scout
Catch you
Team
guys
Sports.
tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. and again at 11 a.m. on 12-ounce Sports Radio.
See ya. 2 weeks in a row, man. Our team's giving us heart attacks on Sundays.
Hey, as long as we get that W, that's all
That
I care
W.
about.
Yeah.
Get that dub.
And we didn't even talk about the World Series or the fight.
Unbelievable.
We're fired.
Tomorrow.